Will posting less Instagram stories make you more money? I believe the answer is yes. And so in this video, I'm going to show you the new way to post Instagram stories that pass on genuine value and nurture your viewers. And you're going to like it because it is actually less work and it gets you way more conversions too. Now, to start for this, you need to go ahead and understand what stories are actually for. So what your ecosystem is supposed to look like. And trust me on this one, 90% of coaches and consultants don't actually even understand this. So let's get into it. First of all, the main goal of stories is to first grab attention, move it, capture it, convert it, keep it warm. That is our main goal here. So for attention, you just need views and replies. For move, you need profile taps and DMs. For capturing it, you need email and SMS. For conversions, you need to go ahead and get calls and payments. And of course, for keeping them warm, you need proof and value loops. And the reason we keep them warm after we even get them on a call is just because we need them to go ahead and stay ready for the next purchase we need them to make for our next product as well. Now, stories power this whole system because they are literally just daily, native, and fast to test. Imagine you could post a YouTube video every single day for 100 days. You'd get pretty good at YouTube videos, right? And you'd get pretty good conversions from those YouTube videos. Exactly. It's the same thing with stories, except stories are like 30, 40, 50, 100 times faster. That's why people can do so well on Instagram, because they can test so much stuff just on their stories, and then they can only take the refined end result to their reels, to their content and everything like that. Now, I'm going to lose you here if I don't give you some actual value. So let's get into the close friends boost and actually how to use it. This is one of the biggest things that I don't see anybody talking about within stories, and it's one of the most powerful levers you can possibly use. So why it works. Close friends, when you add people to your close friends list, by the way, I'm not sure if you understood this, but basically you can add people to your close friends list, which is just a list of people who are basically supposed to be your close friends, but you will actually go ahead and jump to the front of the line. So when you add people to your close friends, which is a feature in Instagram, you could do that with anybody, you can get your story jumped to the front of the line. So imagine you're at a concert or you're at a big thing. Obviously, you're going to have to wait in line and wait for your turn to come, right? You need to wait for this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. But with close friends, you can just press a few buttons, and for your most nurtured followers, you can just go straight to the top. So you just skip all of these people. You just skip all of them, right? They're all skipped. Now, that's the power of story sequences. So if you have more top of queue, that means more views, and that means more profile taps. And I'm sure you guys have seen online that these gurus will add you to their close friends list. That's just because you're their most nurtured followers. That's who they're adding to their close friends list. And again, that is going to result in more profile taps as well, because obviously they'll be curious, why does this guy add me to my close friends list? And of course, just you getting more views on that story is going to result in more profile taps. So this is when you want to actually use it. So the first story of any sequence should be a close friends. It should be the booster. You want to then let it breathe. It should be about 3 to 6 days before the next close friends. In between, post some normal stories. For number 3, you want to add warm followers. So engaged likers, commenters, past buyers, hot DMs, whatever. No randoms that just joined, right? That doesn't make any sense. Number 4, you don't want to spam close friends. Not every single story. You use it to kick off a sequence, mid-sequence reset. So, if you're trying to, let's say you have one sequence already done and you want to make a new sequence, but the old sequence is still there. You can have a reset as a close friend story. Or you can have a launching CTA. Now, I highly recommend close friends, mainly for launches. So if you're coming up on a launch, I'd recommend you hold off on story sequences for about a month or maybe 2 weeks max. And then once you actually get done with the launch, or once your launch comes, you use the close friends for that launch. Now, for what you actually want to expect from this, you want to have a 50 to 100% view lift. It's very normal when the first card is close friends. Then it'll drop to about 25 to 30% across the sequence around about by the last card. That is completely fine. Now, obviously it's a value right there, but what is the actual story formula? How do you create these stories? We know how to get people to see them, but how do you get them to actually work, convert? Now, the story formula is very, very basic. It's hook, story, proof, and CTA. For the hook, you want to have one clear line that makes a person stop. A number, a claim, a pain. It could even be, if you're doing a launch, you could just say huge announcement. If you see those stories where people just have huge announcement with those emojis of blaring lights, that is also something you can do. Then you have the story, which is the quick how or why, or the context behind what you're doing. So you could say, I had this client who had this many problems. And so we decided that, hey, a lot of you guys might be facing these exact same problems. So we decided to go ahead and start up this specific program. Give something about it. It really doesn't have to be detailed. It could be your life story. It could be somebody else's life story. It doesn't really matter. Why did you start it? Like, why was this thing invented? People want a reason. Now, next is the proof. So this could be screenshots, receipts, clips, names, roles, and timestamps. I'd highly recommend you keep the hook at maximum 1 slide or maybe 2, right? So 2 maximum hook slides, 2 or 3 maximum story slides. I'd highly recommend you, if you can, squeeze your story into 2. If you can't squeeze it, then you can go ahead and expand into 3 slides. Then, of course, the proof should be around about as many slides as possible, basically. Not too much, obviously, but the proof should be maybe, anywhere between 1 to 2 slides or 3 slides, right? That's how much your proof should actually be. The reason I say these ranges is just because if you make your stories too long, that's going to result in people not actually looking through them because they have a very low attention span. And so you need to keep their attention, and the drop off is going to be insane if you make your stories any longer than that. Now, the CTA at the end should be something about DM me word, tap the link, vote here, book here, whatever, right? But the last slide should be 1 CTA. Now, you want to just run that same pattern inside of each sequence that I'm about to present below. And the following are the 4 core sequences that you can use. These are the 4 core types that you're going to use in every single situation. Let's get into them. So number 1 is the credibility sequence. For the credibility sequence, the goal is to make people think this works right now for people like me. They need to understand that. The cards here should be, a hook with like a big client win and a promise of value. A proof, some kind of Stripe, calendar, YouTube analytics. Obviously, blur all the personal, private information, everything like that. For the story, that's going to be the next slide. What was broken and then what you changed. It should be 1 paragraph and should be very, very human. Don't try to write like Chat GPT, okay? I'd recommend you write this part yourself if you aren't skilled in AI. If you're skilled in AI, obviously, just like our clients here, we implement our AI systems into their own businesses as well to make sure that they are obviously ahead of the crowd. But if you aren't really, really skilled in AI, you don't know how to make AI sound like you can go ahead and check out my VSL video down below. It should give you a lot of clarity on how to do that. But basically, I'd recommend you just write this yourself just because this is going to sound very, very AI. And if it sounds fake, it is going to be detrimental to your story's performance. Now, you then want to have more proof after the story, and then of course, then a CTA, so like DMX for the exact checklist we use. And this CTA should never be a sales CTA. It should not be a book a call CTA. The only CTA you can have is a lead magnet CTA or just like a free thing CTA, basically. You could have a free value CTA, ask me a question CTA, DM CTA. You don't even need to have a CTA at the end of the story. But if you do have a CTA, it should not be to your program. Why? Because we're just building credibility here. We're not trying to sell them, okay? If you really want, you can have a soft CTA at the end. I'd highly not recommend it. I personally never do soft CTAs on these stories just because they perform worse and they actually lower the amount of credibility you build because now you feel like you're just trying to sell them. You're kind of money hungry, right? This is supposed to be this is more supposed to space out your other stories so that you don't sound salesy. So I'd highly recommend don't put a CTA here if you can. Now, notes, you want to have the numbers next to the claim. Expect the natural view drop across cards as well. A lot of people will look at their cards. They'll see like 1,000 story views at the start and then 500 by like slide 3. And then like, oh my God, I'm falling off. Don't worry about that. It's okay. You're going to have the natural view drop, especially because this is a credibility story. People don't really give a crap about you or anybody else, but only the bottom of funnel viewers will care. And you should only be caring about those bottom of funnel viewers because those are the only people that are willing to give you money. Those are the closest to give you money. And of course, they are who you're trying to sell to here. Now, next is the value sequence. So the value sequence is just teaching. So you can have long text here, right? Here, the goal is to earn trust by giving one usable thing. Do not sell here. Like on the credibility sequence, if you really wanted to sell, which again, I think is a dumb move, if you really wanted to sell, you could have a CTA. Here, if you have a CTA, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. Don't have a CTA here. Now, the cards here should be the hook. So just a huge promise of value. And of course, optionally, why they actually need it. So you could say, your huge promise of value being like, okay, I've compiled this huge thing. And the reason you need it would be 99% of coaches that join my program have this exact question. So I want to give this to you guys for completely free. You know, you could say something like that. That's verbatim. I'm just giving you the outline, but you obviously should be optimizing this. I'm not giving you killer copy here. I'm just telling you exactly kind of an example just so you guys understand here. All of these slides are just examples, but you just need to go ahead and figure out exactly what your specific implementation of this would be. So whenever I give you an example, obviously don't take it word for word. Don't rip it word for word and put it into your story. Make it sound better. Now, steps. You want to have 3 to 5 bullet steps. You can have 1 card each if it is needed. So make sure the bullet steps are easy to follow. They should be short, to the point. If you want, you can have some explanations in there. Obviously, if it's a bit more complicated, I'd recommend some explanations in there. Next is a micro proof. So a tiny screen cap of it working. This could be from your community, a screenshot or something like that. And then DM X and I'll send the Y, right? That is your CTA. Again, do not have a sales CTA here. If you have a sales CTA, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You're just giving away value here. That's it. These value sequences, they can have a CTA at the end for a lead magnet or not. Either way, people are gonna be happy with it. So it doesn't really matter if you give a lead magnet. I'd recommend giving a lead magnet just because you get more emails from this. And of course, people will be more thankful just because you gave them something. Obviously, 90% of people are not actually gonna use it, but still, even you giving away something, even for an email, is actually really good. So I recommend having a ManyChat automation that doesn't take their email. So you get them as a lead on your Instagram, and then you can have a setter later reach out to them after a while once they see maybe a credibility story. And you can track this through a few softwares on the back end. Of course, if you want more details on that, you can watch another one of my videos. I might put up a video on this. So if you guys want to know my exact software stack, leave a comment down below. Leave a boot emoji, I guess. Just leave a happy face emoji. Just leave the happy face with a blush emoji. And I'll go ahead and, make a video on exactly the tech stack we use on our backend. Now, tip here is you want to have big font, line breaks, short sentences. You want to screenshot the actual note or app so it actually feels real. So what you're giving away, screenshot it, show it on the story so it actually feels real. If it's something like a document, I'd say just blur it out a little bit. Or maybe if it's like a multi-page document, just take the picture of the first page, maybe, just so they get a little bit of a taste of what it looks like, the taste of the luxury of having your lead magnet. You know what I mean? All right. Anyways, so next is the scarcity and pain sequence. So basically, you're busy closing / real waitlist buy. Basically, you're building scarcity. You're building I am cool. That's a very basic way of saying it, but you're basically trying to get them to think, hey, this guy actually has stuff to do. He has scarcity. He's scarce. It's a scarce resource. I can't just willy-nilly wait around for it. It's a very scarce resource. And this is where your conversions are mostly going to come from, these scarcity and pain sequences. The goal here is you want to show demand and actually set a line in the sand. The cards here would be hook, like X spots left for August, Y taken, I'm closing Z today. This could be a decent hook. You could change up the hook a little bit here. Obviously, I'm going verbatim. If you want, you can have another story behind this with some kind of other hook. You could say, I opened up the program at this time, blah, blah, blah. You could have a story card before this. I'd actually recommend a little bit of a story card. I'd recommend a little bit of context, basically. If you want, you can have a huge announcement and then this hook as your basically 2 hook cards. But this is just a general idea of what the hook should look like. So you could say, on one story, you could say huge announcement, announce. And then after that, you could go into this, X spots left, that's what I mean. This could be your whole hook, and this could actually work pretty well. If you want, you can also just keep using this. But this seems a bit on the nose, so I'd say add in a little bit of an announcement. Say like, big announcement, and then it'll go into this. I'm not sure if that makes a lot of sense. But obviously, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. Now, the next is the pain. So doing X, so the mistake, is doing Y, bad thing to you. So I made Z product to fix it. Very, very verbatim. Please don't copy paste this into your own stories. I'm just trying to explain what it sounds like, right? Very verbatim. Don't try to copy paste this. It won't perform well. Add some copywriting techniques to it. Make it sound better, obviously. Make it sound better. I'm just explaining the concept to you guys so you can understand it very well. Now, C, why now? So like a date, a cohort start, a price change, whatever. Like, why are you saying this right now? Why is it so scarce right now? Next is the CTA, so DMX. If you want one of the last 4, I'll send details. And obviously for ethics, don't do any fake scarcity unless you think that's ethical. If it's full, just say it. Don't try to fake it. People are going to find out, and it's going to result in a very, very, very bad outcome for you. People are very good at figuring stuff out, by the way. Very good, especially your prospects that are paying you thousands of dollars. Now, next is the CTA/asset sequence. This is your lead magnet machine, email machine right here. Now, your main goal here is collecting the email and SMS and tagging the intent of the prospects that look at this. First, the hook is give credibility or reveal with like, I put my valuable thing in X format. It took me Y sacrifice, and today I'm giving it to you for free. And then a swipe CTA. Again, verbatim. Now, next, what is inside? 3 bullets explain exactly what they're going to get by joining into this, basically. What they're going to get by asking you or DMing you for this specific lead magnet. Hype it up a little bit. Next, how to get it. DM me X and I'll send you the link. Use ManyChat then for asking for email. A lot of people don't know how to do this. You just go to, ManyChat. There's a thing there. You add a node that asks for email. All right. You get their email. Once you got their email address, you can basically, actually, also a lot of people think that they need to have that weird, I'm not sure if you understand this, but in ManyChat, there is a separate node for emails. So a lot of people will put in the node, which is just going to be like, oh, text input or something, right? Like, don't put the text input node here. There's an email node where you can actually ask them for email, right? You can ask them for their email. And ManyChat will actually check, hey, is that a valid email? Once they check if that is a valid email, then it'll basically say, hey, oh, sorry, that's not a valid email. Could you try again? Then you will be able to actually collect accurate emails, right? That's how you do it with ManyChat. Now, once you actually get them to give you the email, then you just send them a little bit of social proof on the thing on the story. That's what I mean. Not in the actual DMs. And then after that, a soft bridge. So you can say after you try it, if you want help, DM Y and I'll see if I can help, So you can, I'd rather not do this in the story. So if you want to do this, you can do this in the story. I'd recommend not doing it in the story. I'd recommend putting the soft bridge. So when you have ManyChat, right? When you put ManyChat into Instagram, when you connect it up, you can actually check so that you can be like in your automation. Once you give them the thing, you give them this thing, right? You give them this. Then you should say, if you need any help, feel free to DM me. I'll answer any of your questions. After that, you can have a ManyChat AI chatbot, or you can respond yourself if you're, if you want to be crude. I'd recommend just responding by yourself, because I'd recommend just not upping your costs at the initial part of your actual business. But once you obviously are scaling up, I'd recommend, putting in the AI stuff. But you can either use AI or you could just respond by yourself to any questions. And the reason you do this is just because if they ask you a new question, then they've just taken one bit of value from you, then they've taken another bit of value from you. And think of this kind of like a video game where every single time they ask you for something, you give it to them, and you give them a surplus where they're like, oh my God, I feel like there's so much he's giving me. Then that is going to add like a 2% chance of them converting. And a lot of people are discouraged by that, but you should actually be encouraged by that. Why? Because you got to be like, if I send them, if they watch like 35 of my reels, and every single one of my reels, every single one of my stories, every single one of my DMs to them, every single time I ask them a question, they get 2% more likely to convert or 1% more likely to convert with me, then I just need to get them to watch 100 pieces of my content. Bam, and they are converted. And 100 pieces of content is much easier than you think, especially with DMs. I've had, like, if you check your DMs, after like a week, you've probably had 100 DMs with a person, like instantly. It's crazy, but again, very easy stuff to get this done. But it's a really, I think, a more motivational message than anything that, you just need to get them to consume 100 pieces of content, basically. That's your goal, all right? And a lot of people get discouraged before they do that. I'd recommend not, getting discouraged, because you're way closer than you think. But anyways, presenting yourself on stories. First of all, you want to have FaceTime one. So you want to talk to the camera daily. Keep it steady. Window light, like kind of like a reel, kind of like a raw and authentic reel. Screens actually do matter. Show dashboards, calendars, docs. You can just circle the number with your finger. Quick and messy is fine. It's actually better. For the pace, you want to have about one idea per card. For captions, you can optionally add text so the mute watchers follow. And what I mean by this is for your video stories, right? So captions would be video stories. Obviously, add text for your other stories. Don't just post up pictures, right? Next, the tone is just normal. A bit blunt is pretty good. You don't hype. Don't act hype. Just don't act fake and disingenuous. Very normal. Be a bit blunt. For stories, it's just as raw as possible. If you can film a story from your bed, bro. You can just be in bed, film a story, bam, you banged it out. Yeah, and that's a good story right there. That's a good story. You just need to make it normal. You just need to be normal.
What does a normal person do? They sit in their, couch with their PJs on, right? At like 8 p.m. It's normal. It's pretty normal to me. But you can post that. You can be like, hey, I'm just sitting here, blah, blah, blah. You can give away a little bit of value, give away a little bit of sauce. You can reply to a comment. You can ask them, you can be like, ask me questions, whatever you really want. Just need to make them think, hey, this guy is normal. And hopefully you're normal. But if you're not, just make them think that, please. That's your main goal, all right? Now, next, awareness and how it actually changes stories. Now, this comes back to Eugene Schwartz's 5 levels of market awareness. So most organic followers sit at level 3 to 5. So solution aware or most aware. And this is how they go. So most aware is just you want to go straight to CTA, proof, short sequences. This is close friends. Level 4 is product aware. Add one card on how we do it. One mini FAQ card. This is also close friends. Then there's level 3, solution aware. Teach one tiny thing first. Value card, then proof, then CTA. Levels 1 to 2, you want to keep them on content, on conversion, warm them up with reels, lives, and before you basically push a story CTA. Now, IG mostly does this for you, right? A lot of you guys might be confused. Wait, how do I implement this, right? IG mostly does this for you. That's how the algorithm actually works. It works on these levels of awarenesses, but you should know about this concept just basically so you can innovate in your sequences. So if you know that your audience is super cold, you up the number of value and credibility sequences. As I was saying, right? Because your most aware audiences, they don't need value and credibility sequences. So if you have a tight-knit, super aware audience, like all of them are solution aware, then you just want to give them a little bit more value and then more proof and CTAs, right? You want to give them more proof and more CTAs. So then other than that, maybe you have a very raw audience or like a very broad audience and a very large number of them. Then you would go ahead and up the number of value and credibility sequences. You would up that number of credibility ones because at that moment, they're very broad. So it's just that you have to innovate in the types of stories that you have by understanding where your audience is in their journey. And I cover this actually in my full course video. I have a full course on basically info. It's not paid. It's nothing like that. It's literally just a YouTube video for free detailing exactly how you can get your info business off the ground, start monetizing your audience and everything like that. Of course, if you don't want to go through all of that, if you don't want to deal with all this story stuff and, get this information overload, then you can go ahead and click the link down below because I do all of this for my clients. I help them with their stories, implement AI into their businesses, AI workflows, AI agents, literally implement basically all of my systems that I use for my personal clients into your business, which again, I work with you one-on-one. I basically am a partner to you. I help coaches and consultants with existing audiences scale their info businesses to $100,000 plus per month. And I do this using all of the systems that I'm talking about before. And that includes the story sequence, framework. That includes our one-on-one coaching scaling framework. That includes everything. And obviously this sounds a bit like a done with you service, but this is completely done for you. I literally do all of this for you so you don't have to lift a finger and you can actually focus on the stuff that matters for you, which is content creation and stuff that nobody can replace. And of course, I can handle all the back end and make sure that you don't make any big mistakes that might lose you hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Because I've seen people with 10,000, 20,000 followers lose tens and tens of thousands of dollars just because they didn't have the right backend, just because they forgot to add a CTA somewhere, just because they forgot to add another email. Maybe their email copy was subpar. I can literally tell these from the outside in. If you don't obviously believe that, you can check that out on my funnel breakdowns. I have so many funnel breakdowns on this channel in detail. You can check out the rest of my channel. There's so many funnel breakdowns that I break down exactly what is messed up in other people's funnels, what they're doing well. And so you can look at this from the inside. I've gotten to a point where I can look at funnels from the outside in and I can see, hey, they're losing this much money on this specific thing. So you need to understand that, you lose a lot of money on the small things. So again, if you are interested in that, go and check the link down below. Hoping to see you there and hoping to talk to you in the DMs. Now, number 1, the simple numbers to watch. So the story views for the first card and then the view drop percentage by card. This is average. You don't take exact percentages per card. You just take the average of all the cards. Next, the profile visits per 1,000 views. Aim for about 50 to 150 per 1,000 on hot days. And then of course for replies per 100 or replies per 1,000 views, anything over 10 is pretty solid for warm audiences. And of course DMs per CTA card. Track this by keyword. You can track this basically by you should be able to track this, I do believe, through Instagrams. Yeah, you should be able to just easily track this on some Excel sheet because usually people reply to the story itself. And of course, you can also add a little bit of step for your setter to be like, hey, can you ask them, where did you come from? And then they can tell you, hey, stories. And then you can add them to tracking here. Next, emails captured per day from story traffic. Huge, huge, huge. You need to understand how many you're actually capturing per day. If you're not actually capturing emails, that's a whole other can of worms. I'm not getting into that in this video, but you definitely should be capturing emails here. Now, next is calls booked, calls showed, and sales from story CTAs. Okay, all these you need to track in detail. You can do this through an Excel sheet. You can do this through a Google Docs sheet, whatever the hell you want to do, whatever is easier for you. Next is the TLDR. Now, we went over everything, and obviously 90% of you guys' brains are like, obviously you just haven't digested all the information, and I don't blame you. You have to watch something like 10 times on average to actually get it to stick. So here's a quick TLDR of the video, exactly how to do this. I just do this. I add this at the end of my videos just to make sure that you actually get some value out of it, even if you don't remember everything. So just if you haven't watched through the entire video super focused, just focus on this one part. You'll be able to get a lot of the value, like 80% of the value. Run the hook story proof CTA inside of your sequence. So the hook first, the story, then a proof, and then a CTA slide. This is how you want to run your sequences. That's the basic framework. Use close friends to kick off a sequence, and again, anywhere between 12 and 6 days later. Not every card at all. Map your story tone to anywhere between 3 to 6 days later. Sorry. Not every card. Map your story tone to level 3 to 5 awareness. So organic followers are warm. That's why, right? You want to map your story tone to level 3 to 5 awareness. Number 4, collect email and SMS off of the story ASAP. Depending on which story it is. If it's a value story, I'd recommend not trying to collect email or SMS. Don't try to collect anything off of value stories, but any other story, collect email and SMS or purchases. And keep numbers in your claims. Don't put in any fake scarcity and post like a human. Don't use AI unless you know how to actually use it. That's it. That's basically everything. Hope you got a ton of value from that video. If you did, I'm glad. If you are interested in working with me again, link down below. I basically work with coaches and consultants with existing audiences. So if you don't have an existing audience, I'm sorry, but I don't really work with people like that. I do only work with people who have an existing audience, but it doesn't really matter where you have the audience. You could be on X, it could be on YouTube, it could be on Instagram. I work with multiple people across platforms. And of course, either way, even if you don't want to do any of that and you just want to watch another one of my videos, go ahead and check this one out right here because YouTube thinks that you'll like it. If you want to watch the whole funnel breakdowns playlist, which I mentioned before, it's my whole series on the channel where I break down other people's funnels and I dissect them for you guys to learn from. Down below this video right here, I've got like 40 videos in there, $100,000 plus worth of sauce. It's really, really valuable. Anyways, there's also the subscribe button down in that corner down below, which I would appreciate if you click that. And of course, the like button down below this video. You can do all that YouTube stuff just because it supports the channel and actually makes this video do better. Hoping to see you in this next video. Goodbye.